You're in a good place now. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Today is the day. There's really no better time than right now. And today is the first time that you're going to experience what? And I find it very interesting when we really think about the value of the present moment, the value of the day, how important that is, and how much that resonates with me, how much that resonates with my listeners and my clients, and how important that is as a valuable concept on our day-to-day life. Joining me live in studio today is Russ Rogers. Russ has written 6 books, mostly kid and family-friendly books to connect the family with their children. He's an international speaker as well as a motivator. Russ, great to have you here live on Live Your True Life Perspectives. How are you doing today?
Ashley, I'm doing amazing. And it's been great to just talk with you, prior to the program. And I'm excited to be with you today, be excited to be with you and your listeners. And I'm excited about this conversation. And it's a great way to, kind of kick off our weekend.
I love it. And I absolutely love your book series. And you have 6 of them in total. And I love how they're all titled Today. For example, Today, Here I Go. Today, Great Adventures. Today, Something New. Today, My First. And Today, Baby Steps. Tell me about where did this information, knowledge, muse start from with you?
Yeah, I was all my life I was basically, outdoors, right? We lived when my parents were when I was 6 months old, they built a house and it was kind of in, the country. And so all of my life and my upbringing and everything was all outside. And, it kind of just translated, into sports and activities. And, we would go on vacation. We do a lot of stuff outside. And then I went into my adult life, I went into personal training, and I started with, working with kids one-on-one, and it was absolutely amazing. So I would take these kids maybe through 30 minutes or an hour of training. Some of them I would have for maybe, one visit, or maybe I'd have them for 9 years, and, repeat, clients that would come to me of all ages. And it was just an amazing opportunity to speak into somebody's life. But, after 20 years of that and 8 years of collegiate softball coaching, COVID hit in 2020, and it not only changed everybody's life, it changed my life in the direction I was going. And so during 2020, when all the parks and the schools and everything shut down, I was like at a point where I was like, all right, so what am I going to do? I have another business, which is landscaping, which I continue to do. But, it was during this time I was really thinking like, all right, what is the next step? And I didn't know what that step was. But soon thereafter, about a year later, I was on a flight to New York. And on that flight, I had this journal that I've been carrying with me for over a year. And it was on this flight that I was like, it was like a lightning bolt that came down, and words just started coming out, and I was just writing and writing and writing. And the first word, Ashley, that I wrote in that journal was the word move. And I drew a little rectangle around that word, and everything flowed from that point on. It was just pages upon pages upon pages that led me into where I am today.
Oh, that's powerful. I'm a big believer in journal writing. I talk to my clients a lot, and they're, I don't want to write in a journal. I don't want to do this. It's so painful. I'm like, you don't understand. You're really going to get something out of it. And I love the fact that you wrote the word move and it put the rectangle around it, and this started happening. I do find it interesting because I don't think that a lot of people understand the value of the moment. I don't think they understand it. And so, when you were writing this, did that start kind of also championing as well? Or have you always valued in the moment, or have you always found that gratitude, or always been in the present moment?
Most of my life, I was in the present moment, and, in that present moment of writing, even at that moment, even when I was writing, it was fulfilling because I was taken back to my childhood, and I was writing anything and everything that would come to my mind. And I would write stories about what I'd seen. I live on the beach. And so I would see the connectivity and the disconnectivity of family, right? On the beach and family activity. And so I would see all of this, and in living in that moment, it was like, I would take these situations, and I would take these experiences, and I would take these stories, and I would put them down, and it would just come to life. And it was amazing because even when I was writing all this, I had no idea I had no idea where this was going to go. But in that moment, I was so enthralled by what I was writing. And I began to share with other people about what was happening. And I remember talking to a grandmother, and she was like, this is amazing, like what you're talking about, because this takes me back to my childhood and memories that I had with my parents and with my grandparents. And then as I became a parent, it took me back to that moment, living in that moment 70 years later. It was really, really cool, the whole process. And but living in that moment, living in that time of writing was it was just an experience that I have never experienced before.
That's very valuable. That's awesome. When did you write your first book?
So it basically, it was all of these pages. And then as I was going through these pages and starting to read, I was like, wow, I don't know, because it was about a year and a half of writing. But even then when I was writing, actually, I was like, I didn't know it was going to be a book. I had no idea. And then when I started looking at this and started breaking it down, I was like, you know what? I think I've got a book here. But then the way that I was writing in these pages, I was like, maybe I have more than one book. So I started dividing up everything. And I said, I'm going to take this concept and I'm going to put this idea into different books. So I ended up breaking it down into 5 books and deciding that this is going to be the first 5 years of a kid's life. So book 1 is for, infancy to 1, and then 1 to 2, and 2 to 3, and so forth. And it's so these pages that when you look through these pages, you can see this child is, he's growing older, and he's now in his 2s and his 3s. And so the activities change. And so in that year of 2021 and 22, that's when it was all coming together of how I was really going to design the way that this was going to look. And instead of just launching one book, I decided to launch all 5 books at one time. And it was exciting.
It's really neat, and I like, yes, how you go through the situation where you're at your first breath, you're outside for the first time, to being on the trampoline or fishing with your family and that sort of thing. It's very cool, and I like the concept how this is all outside, this is all outdoors. It's not like surrounded by video games or stuck inside, what have you, like that.
Absolutely, that's the whole premise. Because as I was looking back at my life, right, and as I expressed earlier in the show, it's like everything was outside. And if you look at society today, and you look at, like, think about this, we have an entire month dedicated to mental wellness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like, Ashley, it's growing and it's growing and it's growing, and people are spending more time. But now we have a month that is dedicated to mental wellness. And so one of the things that I've seen as I've studied and I've looked and I've read and I've listened, over the last couple of years, on mental illness and everything, and what impacts us the most when we're going through this is people are stuck indoors. They've made the choice to be indoors, to watch video, to play video, to watch TV, to listen to their music, to play on their phone and their devices. It's all these things that are indoors, or watching just television. And so the greatest thing that we can do that's going to impact our lives mentally is to get out and get vitamin D, to get out and move, to breathe in fresh air. And let's say you live in a city, go to a park. Go to where there's a lot of nature that's around, and enjoy it, breathe it in and take it in. Bryant Park, when I visit New York City, one of my favorite parks is Bryant Park. Right smack dab, there's Central Park, it's massive, but Bryant Park is much smaller, but it's just beautiful. It's lined with trees. It's got a nice walking path and a water feature in the front. And you could just sit there and you can take in some sunshine. And, there is so much in our surroundings, no matter where you live, that we can breathe in nature and take advantage of it.
That's neat. And I totally agree with you. And it is interesting because mental health and mental wellness is so important. And a lot of times I feel that people take it for granted. I have clients, when we start working together, and eventually, the concept of them not being able to sleep and those types of things kind of emerge into the session. And, my first question is how often do you work out? How often do you walk? How often do you run? And usually the response to that is none, unless I'm being chased, I'm like, well, okay, so if I didn't run and I didn't work out and I didn't do things, I would not be able to sleep at all. And I think
Yes,
people don't realize the value of the things that you don't need a prescription for.
that's right. That's right. And I think about like in my life and what I do, the decision making, the choices that we have, right? We're going to choose if we're going to sit on the couch and sit for 3, 4, or 5 hours and watch TV and just veg out. And we all work every day and we come home, we're tired and everything, but it really comes down to a personal choice of what we're going to do with our day, what we're going to do with our time, and how we're going to spend it. And for me, it's like my slot for when I work out is typically from 3:30 in the afternoon to 5:30. I don't schedule meetings. I don't schedule calls. That is my time that I'm going to get a workout in. I am not an early riser. I am an early riser, but I'm not an early riser to go work out.
Mhm.
So I've identified that in my life. That is out. I'm not a noon person where I'm going to go work out and then I got to shower again in 6 hours from my first shower and then start a day over. So I typically from 3:30 to 5:30, I'm walking, I'm riding, a bike or a Peloton. I'm getting in the garage, I'm working out, I'm getting outside, I'm playing smash ball on the beach, I'm playing beach volleyball. Those are things that I do, and it's not just one activity; it's multiple activities that gives me that roundabout workout that I need that round me out as a person. So I'm using different body parts, I'm doing different movements, but it is a choice.
It's true. And I agree with you. It's finding that sweet spot. And, we talk about, getting out and working out and, doing activities that are good for you. And it's finding that point. And for me, you're right. I tried the 5 a.m., 6 a.m. workout. Nah, not really cool. I'm not really cool
Yeah.
with that. It's not, it's not my thing. Then you try later on in the morning. That puts everything in a bad position in your entire schedule. And then I've tried the lunch thing. That doesn't work either. So my thing is that I go to the gym or I work out late. I'm the later person, so I'm around the
Yes.
7-ish, 8-ish. I kind of round out the back end of the day, and that works for me because
See?
it puts me in the right perspective. It calms my brain.
100%.
And it slows my brain down, and it slows my brain down with where the rest of your body should be. You shouldn't be on Mach 5, 50, if you're like, if it's 9 o'clock at night. Because
That's right.
what are you going to do? There's only so much you could take, and then there's so many side effects from pharmaceutical drugs, but a lot of side effects even from other things, and it's like you'd rather wake up feeling not groggy, and feeling awake and feeling good instead of the other. And I think a lot of times that becomes an issue if you don't use that time to work out.
You have to make that time, and it's important that you schedule that in of when you feel like it's going to best fit your day, and kind of as we were talking earlier, like, if you've got somebody in your life, like, you got to have somebody that's going to encourage you, somebody that's going to lift you up and maybe work out with you, but it's going to be something that's going to enhance your life. If you're a single person, it's much easier, but a lot of people struggle with that first movement of making that choice and making that decision of what I'm going to do. And, you don't have to have a gym membership to work out. You can do it. You can buy $200 worth of equipment and do everything you have right in your own house, in your own garage, in your backyard. You can do that, but gym works for many, many people, and it's great. And it's nice because you can get in, you can get out, you can be around people. If you want to be around people, you can be secluded. You can, can turn people off, put on your headphones. But the most important thing is whatever it is, find that time, take that first step, and make it happen for your life, because you want to do it not only for yourself, but you want to do it for your family, you want to do it for others, but it's most importantly for your own health, it's for your own mental wellness, and it puts you just in a great framework of mind to be more productive and to be more active and to be more social and to be more well and more clear, in your life.
That's totally true, Russ. So when we return, we'll be talking more about fitness. We'll be talking more about a new commitment in our year forward, as well as movement and how movement is actually medicine. So stay tuned. Don't change the channel. We'll be right back. We have lots more to talk about, and Russ will be here live in the studio throughout the show. Live your true life perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back next time. I'll be back this time. You know it. In 2 shakes.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives Now, here's Ashley.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, we've been talking about today, using today for the right things, really getting out there and experiencing life. And Russ Rogers, 6-time author and speaker, has been joining me. Russ, right before the break, we were talking about, the importance of fitness and finding that kind of that sweet spot. And, it's not one size fits all, but it's trying to figure out what works best for you and then trying to kind of champion yourself on a daily basis.
Yeah. People struggle all the time, right, with making that decision. And, I think when you look at it, it's like, people think, well, I got to get 10,000 steps in today, right? But you're not doing any steps. Well, don't feel like you got to just all of a sudden go from 0 to 100, right? You can go from 0 to 10 and take those first steps. But the most important thing is to take the first step. And maybe it's a walk, maybe it's a run, maybe it's a bike, maybe it's push-ups, sit-ups, whatever it is. Maybe it's yoga, maybe it's stretching, right? I mean, that's something that, people struggle with all the time is what do I do? When do I do it? And how do I do it? And then really not compounding it by saying, oh, I see these people that are running on the street and I got to be this, Olympic runner. No, you don't have to. You go at your pace, you do your thing. But most important thing is to do your thing and do it now. We got the new year that's coming. We still have about 10, 11 days left of this year, and we got Christmas in between, but it's never too late to start right now.
You're so right. It is about now, and it's not about putting it off. And that's the thing that I don't like about, the concept of resolutions. It's like, why do we resolve to do something now and think about it and pontificate on it? And I also agree too. It's like, let's just do it now. Why put it off?
Absolutely.
When I work with clients, whether it's, they're going to start working out or they're going to stop smoking or whatever, it's like, let's just try it right now. And it's like, we try it right now. We get in that moment right now. And that's why I love the beauty of the concept of everything that you've written so far is that, it's really about seeing it in the moment because the moment is really the only option we have to actually make true action.
Yep. Yeah. The thing about it is like, when we think about like the new year and what happens whenever people, what do we do in January? We make New Year's resolutions, right? And how many, and I'm going to raise my hand when I say this, how many will raise their hand and say, I started the New Year's resolution and I failed within the first 60 days, right? I'm raising my hand to that. And I basically, actually, I did it. I think I did it twice in my life, maybe 3 times at the most. And I don't think I ever made it past 60 days, whatever that was, right? And so it's like, that is not for me. And so when I was asked in 2023 in December, I was asked this question, my friend Craig, and he said, what is your word for 2024? And immediately my response was, in my head, I didn't answer it. Immediately was, I don't have a word. But then immediately, right after that, the word intentional came into play. And I'm telling you what, that word intent changed my life and direction for 2024. I wake up every single day, and you talk about now. Now is when your eyes open up. And I thought about that word intent. And I'm telling you, apply that word intentional in every aspect of my life. And there's no room for procrastination because when you're intentional, yeah, you can be an intentional procrastinator, but be intent about what you want to do and what you want to accomplish in life. The moment your eyes open, it's now.
Intention. Like, how do you tell me more about how you define intention?
Intent is that when I am going to be intentional, that means I'm going to not put anything off. Let's say this, I want to hit a home run out of the park when I wake up. Now, posting and, social media and everything was always a challenge. And it's just time consuming to do all that. So for me to get that win right out of the gate, that gives me something that's going to set the tone for the rest of my day. So I'm going to be intent and I'm going to get that done right out of the gate. Whether, you're a believer, you're a person of faith, and you're going to pray right out of the gate. You want to get that motion going for your day. So it's about now. So I'm going to be intentional about paying bills. I'm going to be intentional about working out. I'm going to be intentional about spending time with my family. I'm going to be intent about getting outside each and every day. So I'm making that decision right now.
Very important. And when we return, we'll be talking more about intention. We'll be talking more about the power of that, also movement and medicine, and just the concept of movement and going outdoors, but also just making this upcoming year the strongest yet. So stay tuned. We got lots more to talk about. Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. We've been talking about intention, having the power of intention to make changes in our life, and to do that today. And joining me live in studio, Russ Rogers is here, six-time author and speaker and motivator. You know, Russ, right before the break, we were talking about, instead of having this resolution, we have this solid intent. And I think intent is, hey, I really want to do something. I believe in the process. I'm going to put my all into it. And instead of waiting or kicking the can down the road, I'm just going to try to start it now, and then I'm just going to work day to day to try to continue with that intention.
Yeah. The thing about it is that, everybody struggles with doing something and being consistent about it, and if you think about, a word for 2025, consistency is a great thing. But, being intentional for me, when that question was posed to me in December of 23, it immediately changed the way that I was thinking, Ashley. Like, I began to immediately ponder about that word intentional. And then I started really studying about the word intentional. And I thought about my own life, and I started breaking down, my days and how I am effective or not effective in my days. And so when I started thinking about these things, I was like, wow, I put a lot of things off. I do a lot of things that, I might do, next week or the week after, or maybe it carries on for a month. And it's like, you're not getting anywhere, And so when you set these goals, when you have aspirations, to be a better you, or maybe you want, you want to work on your insides, you want to work on your mind, and you're going to say, I'm going to start reading. Well, okay, let's don't try to read a whole book in one day. Let's try to read a chapter a day or whatever, but be intent about doing that to make your self value like better. Right. And so if you're thinking about, well, I'm not walking right now, I'm not exercising, I'm not moving. All right. Well, what am I going to do? I'm going to be intent that when I wake up, or in the afternoon at lunch break, or, maybe in the evening or at night, I'm going to get out and I'm going to be intentional about my day, because it is going to make an impact on every aspect of my life, your life, when you're intentional about it. And so that intentionality doesn't allow you to procrastinate. It doesn't allow you to put things off. What it does, it puts you in the mindset, I'm going to get it done, and I'm going to get it done today. I had a pile of papers, and, bills and stuff like that from, my accounts that, I've got to send bills out to some invoicing. And it's like, well, I can spend 8 hours and do all this at one shot, or I can take 30 minutes a day and do that. And pretty soon that pile's gone. And that's exactly what I did. And so I was intentional. Every day I'm going to spend 30 minutes going through this. And in a short amount of time, I'm going to have all that invoicing all done, and the paperwork and the bills and stuff like that. So be intentional about what you want to accomplish.
That's so true. Being intentional is so important, because it does go a long way to our personal value. When we succeed in even small things in our life, it can be very valuable. And one of the big things I think that a lot of times we overlook is that, being consistent, even if it's like a small feat, what we would consider a small feat, the consistency of that actually raises like your personal value a lot more than just like a one-off. And so really thinking about that, I want to kind of look at the concept that, movement is medicine, like really thinking about healthy movement and how that matters, because we've talked a little bit about working out and that sort of thing. But, I wonder also, like, incorporating that into your life, and maybe giving us a little bit of idea, like if you could like color, a coloring book for us and give us an image of what that looks like in somebody's day-to-day life.
Yeah, when you think about movement, it really depends on kind of like what your surroundings are, right? What do you have around you? For me, I'm very, very fortunate that I live, near the coast. So I have the benefit of having, sand and water and sun, that are right here. And so I can take a walk on the beach. I can go play volleyball on the beach. But for those people that are living more in a rural area or even the city or whatever, it's like, well, how can I build my day? What can I do? So first, I'm going to identify what time of the day is best for me. Am I going to start my day? Am I going to have a midday workout? Am I going to have an evening workout? Identify that step of what is the best time, and then making sure that you don't pile anything else into that time frame. That time frame is yours. It is for you, because if you don't build it into your schedule, because you think about it, we sleep anywhere from 6 to 9 hours a day. We work 8 to 12, 14 hours a day. We eat, we take time to eat, we sit, we watch TV. So we build these things as personal choices. So if we can do those things, then we need to identify how the importance of movement is in our life. And movement is just as, not more important, but just as important as those things that I just said. We've got to have rest, we've got to have sleep, we've got to have food, we got to have water, but we also have to have movement in our life. So identifying that time and making sure that we build it into our schedule, just like we do everything else in our lives. And then execution. We got to execute it. And not only do we, maybe we start with 3 days a week and then we build up to that. I'm pretty much a 7-day movement guy. I'm doing some sort of movement, like we talked earlier in the program. I'm 7 days a week doing something in my body. There is never a day where I am not out and moving. Even on rainy days, we had our walks last month, and so it was a rainy day. I'm out there. I'm geared up. Let's go. We're going to move, and we're going to lean into this wind, and we're going to make it happen. And so you don't have to do that. You can take steps up your stairs. You can walk in place. You can do sit-ups. You can do crunches, and then you got to execute it. And then that word that we just talked about, consistency. Be consistent. If it's 3 days a week, if it's 5 days a week, if it's 7 days a week, move, 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 move. Get the heart rate up, get the body moving, and do it, and be consistent about it.
So true. And, the thing is, too, is that it just goes so far, because what I find is, really just taking the intent. And that's what I love, Russ's messages about is today. So, some of you might have said, man, I've been procrastinating, for the last few days. I've been going to a bunch of events, or I've been doing this or that, and I haven't been walking and whatever. It's like, I think if you can, in that moment, take the time to do it. And, I know people that actually work out in their offices and what have you as well. So that kind of goes a long way, but actually moving. And then I think that it just changes your mood. I believe that it's like such a mood augmentation. And once you start really getting into it and you start feeling it, that's why people say exercising and movement can be addictive, because it actually does make you feel better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I had a buddy, he lives over in Australia, and he was sharing with me several months ago. He says, I had this big project that I had to do, and I was going to take 10 hours. And he goes, I was so stressed out. My wife was feeling the stress of my stress, and I was carrying over into her life. And he goes, I was just like, it had to do, with producing, this movie segment. And he was like, it was just so much on me, so much pressure. And he goes, you know what? I decided I'm going to go take a walk. And he goes, I went out for 1 hour and I walked, and I freed my mind up from that. I was not thinking about what I had to accomplish. I was enjoying my surroundings. I was enjoying the beauty around me, and I was getting the fresh air. And he said, you know what? I went back into that. And he goes, it only took me 5 hours to what I thought was going to be a 10-hour process. And he said, I whipped it out like it was nothing. And he goes, so when I think about this and I identify this with people, is that when you think about what it does to get out and move and to breathe in the fresh air and to get that sunshine, and get those steps in and get the heart rate up, you think about your cardiovascular and what that's doing for you. You think about your clarity of mind, that you're going to be able to think more clearly in the project that you have before you. You think about production. You're going to be way more productive in your day-to-day activities when you get out and move. So when you take that time to do those things, it affects every aspect of your life. And so it's really important that you make movement outside one of the most important things that you can do, because it's going to impact your life in a greater way than you ever thought you'd imagine.
I also like your concept of the family and kids involved too, because I think sometimes when we all the time, it's a lot easier to have kind of a group of people, whether you're related or not related, as, accountability partners to some degree. And I feel like that's important now even more than ever, is, in a family dynamic, is trying to get everybody to do kind of some of these activities. And I think you might actually, that could really change the dynamic of the family. It could also change the types of activities. Like I even have some friends now that, like most people, let's go to happy hour or whatever. I don't do happy hour. I mean, I'm still working, but it's like a lot of times instead of that, we'll go take a walk, or we'll go to the park, or we'll go, walk this trail or what have you. And it's so much more fun because you're taking, you're still hanging out with your friends or still doing something, but yet you're doing something that's way more positive and proactive.
Absolutely. We were not made to be alone. We were made to have people around us, and a lot of people choose to be alone, and that's okay. It's not the greatest, but it's okay. We are made to be around people. We were made to have social interaction with people. And, we have these community strides that it's a walk that we do on, one time a month. And the importance of the community strides is to not only get out and walk 2 miles, but the idea is to build community. It's about family. It's about bringing people together. It's about not only exercising and moving, it's about connecting with other people. It could be family members, or it could be, colleagues. It could be somebody, it could be your neighbor across the street that you invite to walk with, and to have that social interaction. A lot of us, we live in our homes. We don't even know the person across the street or 2 houses over. We don't even know who them, because we have no social interaction with them. And so we are designed to communicate. We're designed to talk. We're designed to sing. We're designed to build relationships. And so it's really important that when you do that and you learn things about people and you socialize, it lifts you up. Well, I mean, I guess it could carry down, but we're going to go from the positive. It's there. It's to lift you up. It's to be encouraging, and you can be an encouragement to other people. So it's important when we have these activities. Like for me, I go out and play beach volleyball. And so what is it? It's interaction. You're having fun. It's competitive. It's a great spirit. It's a great time, and you're having a great time with people, right? Men and women, and you're just enjoying a physical activity, but you're having social interaction as well.
It's so true. It's so true. And I think embracing that and understanding that, and you're right, some people do choose to be alone. That's their choice. That's what they want to do. But I just feel like life is so much better when you have people around and encouraging. You're right. It's like, it's great to really think about, encouragement and helping others, because to me, it directly impacts us. And it's like whatever's coming out of my mouth or whatever I'm saying or doing, I'm either seeing or hearing first before everybody sees or hears it. So, the impact that has. And we're not always having the perfect day of our lives. We're not always having the best, most positive day, but it's like kind of, recalibrating. And that's another thing that I love about your concept of these books too, is that, kind of we can actually look at today. And I think everybody has things, no matter how old or how young you are. I think if we look at it from the perspective of being in the moment, and getting out of the same crap different day concept, I feel like we can actually look at it from a different perspective and say, okay, what did I do today? What were some of the things that happened today, that were different? Or what was something, because I think there's always something that happens every day that's not exactly like the day before. There's things that actually happen, and maybe taking note of that could go a long way as well.
Yeah. I was just, I was on a Zoom yesterday, and this guy, it's a speech class, and, you're, working about talking and leading into the application and the TEDx and all that kind of stuff. And he was talking about, as we're here at the end of the year, how he goes through and analyzes all of his emails, all of his postings, all of his conversations. He's going back because it's all written down through his calendar, and, it's analyzing those days, and we can take the good and bad. And he's like, who are people in my life that lifted me up, and who did I lift up? But also identifying those people who do what? That just take time out of your life, that are energy sappers, right? They suck life out of you. And he goes, I choose to spend more time where I want to be with people who are investing in me, and I am investing in them and building it up, and I have a, kind of a former friend, that I was going through life, here at the beach. And, it's like this guy provides no value in my life. There's no value in my life whatsoever, just sucks time. And, my coach in college at Cal Poly, he said this. He said, the 5 most important words in life are to surround yourself with good people. And if you want to be you can elevate them, and if you want to, be less than that, then be around people who are not going to lift you up, but are going to tear you down, who are going to take time out of your life that have no value whatsoever in your life. So surround yourself with good people, and you'll find that yourself will not only be elevated, but you are going to elevate other people that are around you.
That's very powerful, and I love that. And for everybody that's listening to the show, it is about surrounding yourself with good people and really thinking about that. And I ask you right now to and I'm not trying to say let's judge other people, but it's a good time to do an inventory and really see that, because sometimes we can lose sight of that. And when we lose sight of that, what I've seen is that the more that we spend time with certain types of people, the more that our life starts looking like that, or we start resembling some of their characteristics, because birds of a feather flock together. And so when we return, we're going to be talking really kind of deep on how to make this upcoming year the strongest year yet. And I think this is very important because, there's all this stuff going on, all the stress, all the responsibilities, all this stuff. But we really need to focus on really what's important right now. And this is really going to help you, because Russ is going to really put it in perspective for us. And he's going to give us the 3 steps to making this the strongest year yet. So stay tuned. Don't change the channel. We still got a lot more. So it's very important. But I want to really think about this. And if you want to get out a journal, or you want to maybe put some thoughts in your phone, might be a good time as well. So stay tuned. Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
Get in here. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Russ Rogers has been joining me live, 6-time author and speaker and motivator. And right now we're going to talk about what I really am interested in is Russ has come up with 3 steps to making this year your strongest year yet. Russ, looking forward to hearing this. And if anybody listening wants to take some notes or maybe put something in your phone, it might be a good idea for motivation and to really focus on what you want to attain this year.
Yeah, Ashley, when going back to what we've talked about, in this segment, is that the word intentional. And I really encourage people, going forward, not so much to look at a New Year's resolution, but let's look at it very, very simply. Let's look at one word, and what is one word that you come up with, and don't spend a lot of time. Just ask the simple question. What is the one word that is going to impact my life going forward in 2025? And when we think about priorities and we get that, that being intentional in our life, what is it? What is it that's going to cultivate intentionality in our lives? Here's number 1, setting clear priorities. What are clear priorities for yourself? Define what truly matters to you, your values, goals, and your passions. So setting clear priorities. Number 2, practicing mindfulness, staying present and being aware in every moment. When I think about practicing mindfulness and being present in the moment, I think of this story like several years ago. I was on the beach, and as I was playing smash ball, which is like ping pong without a net and without a table, we're just elevating the ball, but we're getting to work out. This kid comes over and he says, "Hey, can I play?" So my friend Bob handed him his paddle. So this kid and I ended up playing for about 45 minutes. His parents and siblings were, behind him about 30 yards down by the water, and we ended up playing. And simply put, and I'm making this story short because I know we got a short amount of time. We walked over after 45 minutes. We sat on the seawall. He's 8 years old, and he looks me in the eyes and he said, "This is the greatest day of my life." And I was like, wow, being present, being mindful of the situation. This kid wanted to play. My friend Bob gave him his paddle, and we spent 45 minutes just hitting the ball back and forth, having fun and laughing. And, I was happy to be the one that was there and that was present. My thought was, I wish this happened with the kids. So I went to my house. I grabbed a couple of old paddles, grabbed the ball, and I brought it down to him. And I said, "Hey, take these, have fun on your vacation with your family, take it to your house, play in the backyard." Being present, being mindful of the situation that's there. And then 3rd, so we've got setting clear priorities, practicing mindfulness, and the last thing is creating boundaries, establishing time around your own time, your energy, and your attention to detail of what you want to accomplish in your life. So, number 1, setting clear priorities. Number 2, practicing mindfulness. Number 3, creating boundaries so that you're not wasting a lot of time. Don't waste a lot of time. Be intentional about your day, be intentional about your week, and you're going to find yourself being more motivated. You're going to find yourself being more active, and you're going to find yourself being more productive in your life each and every day.
Super powerful, Russ. Super powerful. And where can people find you?
So they can find me on Instagram at MoveToday365. They can follow me. They can take a look at my website at movetoday365.com, on Facebook for Russell Rogers, or also on LinkedIn, Russell Rogers. And, I'm just so ecstatic to be on your show and to share, about my books and share about the importance of getting out and being active and moving and not being, sedentary in our lifestyles.
Super powerful message, Russ. I've loved having you on the show. I'm so glad you came on. I know that you're going to have so many more books and speaking and all that, so definitely want to have you on in the future for sure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity, Ashley.
Russ really gave some valuable information today and very helpful. Really thinking about clear priorities, really practicing mindfulness, being present in the moment, and creating those boundaries around our time and energy. And this is very valuable information. And so really take some time to think about that. Take some time to analyze your current life situation. This can be very powerful. And so definitely check out Russ's social media. If you're listening to the podcast after the radio show, everything will be, in the text below in the podcast. And you can listen to podcasts wherever podcasts are: Spreaker, Stitcher, Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, everywhere that a podcast is. You can find Live Your True Life Perspectives. Also, if you have any questions, comments, or want to just send out an email, go to ashleyburgess.com. Ashley, BERGES.com. Click on that contact page and you can send me an email and I will get back to you in a couple of days, if not sooner. Russ, thank you so much again for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for opening the door for me. And it was a great conversation. And I love being able to share with all those people that are following you. Thank you so much.
Powerful message. And these books are amazing. And think about it today. What are you going to do today? What do you have in store today to do in your life? What do you want to do today? You might as well start, because today is a day, being mindful and being present in the moment and using that time that we have, that we are been given. It is a present. It is a gift. That's why they call it present moments. So stay tuned. I hope that you've loved the show and share it with family and friends. Also follow us, on the podcast as well. And looking forward to hearing if you have some thoughts on some upcoming shows and topics as well. Stay tuned. Live Your True Life Perspectives with me, your host, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time. You know it. I'll be back this time in 3 shakes.